I'm glad you got back to RICO because that's a question I have for you on a broader scale. We have seen now YSL tried RICO, ASAP Rocky tried RICO, and obviously in this case, RICO. What's your take on this attempt to use the racketeering statute for an unusual or different purpose? And it's failed 3 times.
Michael, that's an excellent question. You're putting a square peg in a round hole or vice versa. Okay. It goes back to what I said before. RICO, you save it for El Chapo. You save it for Gotti. You save it for somebody who's sort of a kingpin. This case never fit the public's perception of what a RICO statute is for. This was a case about personal grievances and horrendous conduct that was elevated to a level of RICO. And they were trying to make the facts of this case something that it was not. Where was the enterprise? That was a problem. Where was the pattern of conduct? That was a problem. You had this unrelated instances of anger management where he's torching a car, he's beating somebody up. But was it the classic RICO where he had a purpose? And here's the other thing in standard RICO cases: money, 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 money. The only money that was going out in this case was Diddy paying off people, but he wasn't making money off of his RICO enterprise, and that hurt him too. That hurt him too, in my view.
And I think there was an issue with consent. I mean, that's the way I felt about it before we get back into the Mann Act, because I think that's a collateral issue, but similar. As I said after this trial, I said, everybody has the right to make a bad choice. All of these folks did things that they then complained about later, but they took the money, the trips, the high lifestyle all along the way. And now they come back into court and they're trying to convince this jury that what they did was coercion, and the jury didn't buy it.
No, Michael, you hit the nail on the head. The jury believed that he was horrible, and he beat his girlfriends, and he had them do things that were just beyond. But part of them felt, I haven't talked to the jury, but I'm just inferring, they felt, you know what, all that happened, but they kept going back to him. I think they were attracted by his glamour, his stature, his prestige, if you will, because they all, and at times, even after incidences that were just horrible, 2 weeks later, they're writing love letters to him. They're going on trips where there's affection. That wasn't good. That wasn't good. Yeah. It really was not.
Yeah.
And RICO was, for people that know, RICO was developed to prosecute the mafia. I mean, I talked about the movie The Godfather last week with the horse's head being killed. That's how you were trying to get to the mafia, to get an enterprise, you know, so that, because of the money, right, that was coming in from all the transactions all over the mafia was doing, people that didn't know each other. It wasn't meant, it wasn't, you know, that was years ago. It wasn't meant 50 years later for this type of stuff.
Right. I'll give you my experience, you know, the 100 trials or over 100 that Michael mentioned. One of them was a pain doctor, Dr. William Hurwitz of McLean, Virginia. And he would prescribe up to 1,200. I'm not making this up. He intentionally prescribed up to 1,200 oxy pills a day to at least one patient. He was crazy. He was crazy. Oh, yeah, he was crazy. But I charged the equivalent of a RICO in this case. He ran a pill mill. You know, patients come in, they get the easy handed out prescriptions like cotton candy. I charged RICO. He was found not guilty of the RICO. And the reason is this: did it fit the drug trafficking statute and overprescribing and all that? Yes. But did it fit RICO, the El Chapo, the Vito Corleone, the John Gotti? And the jury just didn't buy it. Didn't buy it.
Yeah. We haven't seen it. I like I've said, I appreciate the creativity from the prosecution to try and cram that into their set of facts, but so far it ain't working. The Mann Act, though, and I have always had a beef about this.
Yeah.
The Mann Act.
Could I ask Gene one question before we get to that?
No, you
Michael?
cannot. No, go ahead.
No,
How could I
because I
stop
want to
you?
ask Gene because I see this in our chat. We all saw that horrendous video of him beating Cassie.
Yes.
That was an assault. Explain why that didn't fit into the RICO charge and why the jury didn't buy the issue of coercive control of women being part of the RICO charge before we get to the Mann Act, just because I see all these questions.
I'll just give you I'll give you a good reason in my view. And I haven't talked to the jury, but I'm just trying to put myself in their shoes. Was it an absolutely categorical display of abuse and violence and disreputable conduct? Yes, times 10. But was that an isolated incident? I think it occurred in 2006. Am I right on that? The video?
I don't remember.
Does that sound right? It was well past the statute.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. So the one point I want to make is that the jury's going, okay, this is almost 20 years ago, and we're talking about it in this trial today. That could have been a factor. The second thing is you have to connect it to the RICO, and they could not. And I think that affected the sex trafficking charges.
It's 2016, say our viewers. 2016.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, 16. Okay, I'm off. But
yeah, still way past the statute. Same point.
But here's the thing: they had the sex trafficking were predicate acts of the RICO, and they probably felt, you know what? Was she there because of consent, and she loved him, and then this went off the rails because he lost his cool and he got violent? Is that what happened? Or is this connected to some grand enterprise? And I think the jury probably felt it was the former.
Sure.
That this is just a moment in time in their relationship when he just went crazy. That's probably what they felt.
Yeah, and they probably thought, even though they didn't calculate dates and times for statute of limitations purposes, they probably felt like, why didn't you charge the guy with that? This happened so long ago. Why didn't he get charged with that? But they wouldn't know the ins and outs of why he didn't get charged.
At least at the state level. At least at the state level. And the other thing is, I don't know if I don't know if the jury liked that victim. I'm not sure that the jury liked that victim, because she was with him for many years. She had many opportunities. This was said in closing, many opportunities to leave, but she stayed on. And I forget, she got a big settlement. She had settled.
She sued, and the next day it was resolved. Yeah.
Yeah, and she also had her own music line and things like that. They probably.
She also sued the hotel.
For your listeners, Bob Seger, I'm a big Bob Seger fan. He has a song called Night Moves.
Yep.
And in that song, there are two lyrics that apply to this case. Diddy. I used her, she used me, and neither one of us cared. The jury, in my view, probably felt they both used each other. They both were abused. They both used each other. And I'm not going to make this into some grand RICO crime. This is just the way they rolled. And was there assault that could have been prosecuted at the state level? Of course. That video alone. But that's probably what the jury felt.